I want to say welcome to interrupt and ask questions. You don't have to wait until the end. Just raise your hand and whatever you want to ask away. This was my commute here this morning. I had to get up at 5 a.m. to be here for you because I was flying in from the Canary Islands. Last week I had a small conference there in our house. When I was a student, I went to a lot of conferences like this and hackathons, and I always dreamed that when I'm going to be a big boy, I'm going to have a beach house and I'm going to host events there, and it's happening, and I'm so fucking stoked about it. Yeah, it's one of the best vacations you can have. Go on a hackathon somewhere nice. For the past 2 decades, I've been running a fully remote company called Neyts. We started from Slovenia, but we're now a global company. At the beginning, we were building websites, regular, simple websites. Then we converted into a development agency, and then finally graduated into building our own products. Our graveyard includes over 100 failed projects. Some of them we actually managed to sell. Most of them we just had to kill. And this is the story of how we failed on some of them. The main thing I've learned in the last 20 years is that making money by selling stuff online is really hard, but selling security stuff online is near damn impossible. I got interested in security in high school. Those were the days of IRC channels and dial-up and taking over the channels and setting each other Trojans. I have this vivid memory of installing Backorifice to the teacher's computer in IT class and then laughing as we were like instructing the CD tray to go in and out and in and out and in and out and laughing so hard that we got caught, obviously. But then the real security product my first real security product started in university. I stumbled upon basically a startup. We had this, it was 2006, there was a FIFA World Cup, and it was the first big event that sold tickets online, and about 30% of the revenue for those tickets went to scammers. Because people basically trust that if a website has an SSL certificate, it has to be legitimate, so they just send the money. But it turns out, scammers realize that anyone can buy an SSL certificate and present themselves with the wrong information, in the company information in their certificate, and fool people. So our idea was to partner up with a global organization for auditing companies and have them verify someone that wants to have like a certificate. They would actually have to go there, present an identity card, and then this auditing organization would verify that they're actually the owner of this business, and then they would be given this certificate. And so as a user, you would know on an e-commerce site, basically, for example, when buying tickets, you would click that and you would see there's an actual legit company behind this website. We raised over €1 million, which was a metric fuckload back then, and also just before the crisis. And I learned my first lesson that you have to be careful with VCs, because this is what I was left after 5 years. Almost nothing. Raising a ton of cash sounds really fun, and there is definitely a place in the world for VC money, but I've seen a lot of projects, even friends, raise too much VC money, and then what could have been a small profitable business failed because the VCs were pushing it to be too big. And it's also what happened to us. Us, Neyts, as an engineering team, we were trying to steer the company into a different direction than what the big owners and the marketing team wanted. But because we had such a small equity in the project, we couldn't. So we had a lot of responsibility, but no authority. And the project inevitably failed. The second lesson there was the awards are useless. We had all the awards we could get in Slovenia in the region. They did not help a bit. And also that the timing matters, because just as we were ramping up, extended validation SSLs came out. Anyone remembers those? Gosh, I'm old. So yeah, back in the day, if you had an EV SSL, a green SSL, you would get this nice name of the company in the browser bar. And then people learned to use those, and then our certificate was kind of like, yeah, I don't know, I have this, why would I need to pay extra? So maybe if we would have been a year or two earlier, the story would have been different. Also, we started in 2007, 2008, and if you know anything about history, summer 2008, the great financial crisis came, and yeah, good luck selling security in 2009 and 10 and 11. Just no. But during our descent into the VC hell, various people reached out to me for small projects. For example, in 2010, there was a student protest here in Ljubljana, and all the previous protests had their website hacked by, we all know who. And they approached me like, can we help? And yeah, sure, we're going to build a website. And sure enough, the website was up all the 4 weeks of the protests. And I said, yeah, but this is actually not too bad of an idea. Let's do more of this. So I started going to conferences and doing this consulting projects. Maybe you can call it freelancing, but if you call it consulting, you can charge more. So I'm just going to call it consulting. In the end, I realized that consulting is actually super fun. I got clients from Western and Northern Europe. They would pay for me to fly over there, put me in a nice hotel, take me to expensive dinners, buy my drinks, and then do that. I would do that for a week, go home, then the next client. And maybe 10% of this time, 10% of the time, this was actually something related to security, because basically I was helping development teams write better code. But 90% of the time, that meant I was writing tests for them. It was still fine. I was paid well, so what else would a 25-year-old want? And yeah, I want to say that consulting is actually pretty simple to get into. You do some open source, like whatever, open source, so find something that you like, and then you talk about it on your blog, on your socials, wherever, and then you submit a conference talk. And eventually your talk is going to get accepted. You go to that conference, you give a talk, and at the end of the talk you say, by the way, I'm available for hire. And there's going to be like 50 to 200 people that are interested in that thing in that room, and there's quite a good chance that someone will walk up to you and say, hey, yeah, I actually need people to hire to help me with this, whatever you're giving a talk on. Another great thing about conferences, speaking at conferences, is the speaker's dinner. Usually on a larger conference that is more than 1 or 2 days, there's one night reserved for a big party just for the speakers. And who are the speakers at the conference? Usually the senior people, the owners, the managers of the big companies. And it's super easy to ask for work to someone after you've had a nice meal and maybe went to karaoke with. So yeah, try to do something on open source. Or another idea is maybe join a security team for your favorite Linux distro or desktop environment or web framework that you use. Usually open source projects really lack staff, especially in the security department, and they're happy to onboard even not that experienced people. So it's easy to get in, and then the people that are usually on those teams are senior security people, and they will know where to get work for you. You start by charging low, especially because you're from the Balkans, but then every client, you just raise the price by 10 to 20%, and eventually you get to good rates. Yeah, it is fun. Speaking of great consulting opportunities, get into NixOS. Nix is a package manager. NixOS is a Linux distro built on top of this Nix package manager. It's super difficult to get into, but it pays out. Especially in the security space, a lot of the enterprises are getting into Nix because Nix gives you a real software bill of materials. When you're doing compliance, when you want to know what a certain company uses, you need to get a list of all the software that you use and all the dependencies and all the dependencies of dependencies and dependencies of dependencies of dependencies. And regular package managers usually give you just the first level of dependencies, and then you just kind of do this for the rest levels. In Nix, you actually get the whole tree, and that's why everyone's moving into Nix. Nix is the top 5 GitHub repositories in terms of size and number of commits. So it's really growing, and there's also French and German government are now pushing Nix into the government area. So there's a lot of work to be done, and there's still a lot of security work to be done on Nix, especially automated vulnerability scanners, supply chain guarantees, stuff like that. The community is super nice. The event that I showed you before, that was a Neyts event. We had people from Google, Shopify, Mercury, and a lot of European companies there, and it was amazing discussions for a week and a lot done. And I have some Neyts stickers up there if someone wants them. So there's this famous graduation speech called "Wear Sunscreen." I'm sure you've heard it on YouTube. There's a lot of it. And it has this quote, and I would like to add something to this line. Do consulting, it's really fun, but don't do it too long. I know from first-hand experience. In any case, I burnt out on VC, I got tired of consulting, and I still had the urge to build stuff. And I still had ideas for security products. But then I remembered the flight crew, what they always say before taking off. In case of emergency, first attach your mask, then help others. So instead of doing a security product, we were like, yeah, maybe we do something that we can actually sell. Because selling security is super hard. Because you go to a company and you say to them, you're gonna pay us, and then maybe someday down the line you're gonna save something because you paid us. And they're like, yeah, that's a nice idea, but there are 3 more people that are selling us something that they're gonna make us make more money immediately. So I'm gonna talk to those first. So we're always on the bottom of the to-do list. So we're like, yeah, let's try to first sell something that increases revenue for companies. So we did what we knew well from the marketing that we did for our security, which is affiliate marketing, content networks, SEO, stuff like that. We built a few tools there, and eventually we found something that worked really well. Basically, it's a tool for SEO. It's hosting for SEO. We host these days 60,000 WordPress blogs for SEO purposes. And while I wouldn't say that this was a security product, having a hacker mindset definitely helped with this project, because if you host 60,000 WordPress blogs, the chance of one blog being hacked at least one blog being hacked at any point of time is more than 100%. And we had to build a number of internal tools to scan all our servers, fix vulnerabilities, maybe revert the hacks, and then find offending IPs, block them, share the IPs across the entire server pool, because we have 600 servers. So yeah, like my experience with security helped a ton building this. So maybe you don't earn money directly with security, but because you are into security, you get better consulting deals, and then when you do your own product, that product is better because you know how to take care of security. With that success, we got a bit cocky because we know how to do this. And then we had another big failure. I'm not going to go into it because it's too painful. It's on our blog if you want to read about it. Yeah, should have bought a yacht instead. But luckily, our milk cow was still making us money. And I was still running the company. And I had this problem where we had about 10 to 12 people. And I wanted to know that they have the basics of security set up on their laptops. I want to know that they have disk encryption on. Because we're a remote company, people work from coffee shops. I wanted to know that they have a screen lock in place, so if they go to the toilet, the screen locks, stuff like that. And everything I could find on the internet to ensure this would actually install a rootkit on their device so that I could control their devices. I'm like, yeah, this doesn't feel right. And I asked on a small private forum, a business forum, like how everybody else is solving this. And to my surprise, DHH came to my help. Like, yeah, we actually had exactly the same problem, and we solved it by building this tool called Shapeshift, and we're going to open source it. I'm like, yes, amazing. I'm just going to wait. And then I waited, and then I waited, and then I waited. Hey, man, when are you going to open source that? And after about 2 years, he's like, yeah, we're not going to open source it. It's too messy. I don't want to deal with, generalizing it. It's really built for our specific purpose. Sorry, no. And then there was public outcry in this forum, and people were yelling, "Shut up and take my money! Somebody build this!" And as a business person, I was like, I see interest. maybe I should build this, right? But do I really want to build another security product? I was still a lot of painful memories from the 5 years of building that certificate thingy, knowing how hard it is to sell security, and I thought I really shouldn't do this, right? Right? Oh, fuck it. I choose to do it not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Also, it was the COVID time, so I was bored out of my mind. I needed to do something. Yeah, so it was the summer of 21. We had our biannual in-person meeting with a company. Sort of, half of us was there, the other half couldn't travel. But it was still a good opportunity to come up with an MVP of this new security checker app that we're building. And sure enough, after a month later, we launched it. We called it Pareto Security because, you know, based on the Pareto principle, you do 20% of the effort to get 80% of the result. Because we're all on Macs in our company, we started with Macs, so it's like a nice little app that lives there. And if you disable your firewall because you're playing around with Raspberry Pis or something, and then forget to re-enable it, it's gonna like yell at you, like, "Hey, you know, maybe enable this. It's nice to have a firewall enabled." So then I sent an email to everyone I knew. We posted on all the news sites. I even went to a Swift conference because, you know, Swift language, Mac people, Mac users, app for Mac. And it worked. We launched on Product Hunt, and by some sheer coincidence, I still don't know how, one of the big sites, I think TechCrunch or something, one of the journalists there really liked our app and posted a full news item about us. And then all the smaller sites were like, "Oh, there's some news. I need to write news about it as well." And then all the local websites, the news sites like the German and the French Mac website, started to post about it. And we had this like huge uptake of users, and we're like, "Yeah, amazing, got this. Security, yeah." No. Yeah, I omitted a critical detail. We were selling lifetime licenses. You know, you paid, I think we charged 15 euros or something, 20 euros, and you get it for lifetime, because, you know, people that sell desktop apps, usually you do this and then you do a version 2 to sell another lifetime in a few years. But yeah, after this first surge of users, it went down, and yeah, we're like, this doesn't work. And we remembered our old milk cow. That was like, while the half of the company was fooling around with these stupid security ideas and stuff, that milk cow was still producing money every month and like paying for everyone's salary and then more. I'm like, yeah, maybe you know, recurring revenue does make sense. So if you're doing something, try to do something that does recurring revenue and not a one-time thing. But the recurring revenue did force us to find alternatives, and we've stumbled upon a really nice gem for side gig projects. It's a paid store called SetApp. So on a Mac, there's a lot of apps that you can download and pay a lifetime fee, or you can subscribe to SetApp for like maybe $10 or $7 per month or something like that, and you get access to a lot of those apps, right? So we included Pareto Security into SetApp, and people that are already using SetApp downloaded it, started using it, and then we would get a share of the entire SetApp revenue. And this was super easy to get to 1,000 euros per month, like that. We just added it to SetApp, boom, 1,000 euros, and that was actually recurring, because SetApp charges a monthly subscription. So if you want to do a side project to earn some money on the side, building a Mac app and then putting it into SetApp might not be such a bad idea. It probably won't scale well, because like this is how our SetApp revenue looks for the last 2 years. It's completely flat, and whatever we do, it's just flat. You don't have any visibility into who your users are, how to get more users. They just send you money every month. But yeah, if you just want to earn a few €100, maybe a few €1,000, SetApp is a really good idea. And then the final lesson would be, sometimes it just takes time. We'll see. About half a year ago, We're slowly working on a Linux version because we use Linux machines as well. Our biggest client, who is Brave, the browser, they reached out that they really want Linux support. I'm like, yeah, we're working on it. You're going to get it eventually. We're like, yeah, but we really want Linux support. I'm like, yeah, but we really want you to pay more money. And they're like, oh, how much more money you want? I'm like, a lot. And they're like, yeah, but we really want Linux support now. I'm like, okay, we can get you in a few weeks. But eventually, yeah. So eventually, Brave started to pay us more money. We started really finishing up the Linux support. And then because we realized Pareto's security is really worth to Brave, maybe it's really worth to others as well. So I contacted other customers, and most of them were fine with paying us more as well. So maybe we're just not charging enough. And basically, here we are. I hope it goes like this. Probably it won't. And ideally, we would need to do enterprise sales, which means I would be sitting on the phone calling up companies and managing directors and whatnot. I tried that. I can't do that. It doesn't work. It just kills my soul. So we're just going to continue trying this bottoms-up approach. We're going to support niche Linux distros such as NixOS, because none of the monitoring software supports NixOS. We do. We're going to sponsor events like this, and then hopefully with this grassroots approach, maybe not lose money this time. We'll see. In any case, if you're a Mac user or Linux user, those are the links. If you're in a company that wants to know that their Macs and Linux users are secure without infringing their privacy, go to there. And here are the lessons again. This would be a good time for questions. And not everyone at the same time, please. Sorry? Oh, sorry. MRR, monthly recurring revenue. So yeah, recurring revenue is the shit. Yes. So the apps are free. So that's our grassroots bottom-up approach. Give the apps for free to everyone. All the apps by default don't do any reporting, don't send any reporting data anywhere. They just run locally on your machine. You can use it. But then if you want to have, as a company, a dashboard where you see all the machines, then you pay. And then you pay recurringly.
Are there any more questions?
Yes. How many developers are working on it? Let's say 3, myself included. I mean, we have people contributing that are outside of the company. So do you count those as well?
Maybe a bit more provocative question. How do you see your competence? As you know, a lot of them, namely Collide, kind of integrated into one password. How do you see this in your story? Kind of is your direct competition from what is what can I see from the web?
Yeah. So Collide is a remote management system for Macs. So if you work in a big company, usually you get a company-issued Mac, and the IT team in that company has full control over that Mac, so you probably don't want to have anything personal on that Mac. And for big companies, this works really well, but this doesn't work really well for small companies. Maybe they don't have the budget to have a full IT department with Collide and full management. Maybe they have a lot of consultants, students, outside people that have their own laptops that they cannot use, that they cannot manage, but they still would like to have secured. And even in large organizations, we found there's always a certain amount of devices that, for whatever reason, cannot be included in a remote management scheme. Maybe one of the board members doesn't want to install it, or maybe the developers are too limited by a device that is remotely managed. And for those cases, something like this, that you can say, well, this is read-only, it completely respects your privacy, it's only going to report the status of the security checks, nothing else. This is then helpful. Answered?
questions? Yes.
Maybe given that you're like have the client open source, but the server component is supposedly proprietary, are you maybe like afraid, or do you have some like fears of someone just forking it or like making an open source alternative for the server side, and that kind of killing your revenue stream? Has that even like happened? Has people tried that?
No one has tried it so far, and I think eventually we're going to open source it. It's just we haven't gotten to that point. It's still a bit faster to develop stuff privately, especially in the beginning when you're iterating fast. Because I don't want someone to install it and then we completely change some internal stuff, and they're like, hey, I need a database migration or whatever. So yeah, I think eventually we're going to open source it, but for now, yeah, we keep it private just so that we can iterate faster.
But you think you have a solid business model even without the moat of like a proprietary backend?
Yeah, I mean, at the pricing level that we charge, I don't think it makes sense for anyone to actually self-host it. I mean, yeah, the reason why I want to open source it, because I'm sure there are maybe like student organizations who cannot afford us, and they would be perfectly fine with self-hosting it. And for me, that's fine. You can self-host it because you're not my client anyhow. Like we need to charge enough money to survive, and only companies that are profitable can pay for that. Everyone else is not our client, and they can have it if they want it. Yeah, and we give it, like we give even the subscription for free to our nonprofits and open source contributors and stuff. So yeah.
I have a general question on like money making with open source projects. Like, is it even feasible, and did you like think about using things like fair source or some weird licenses that like eventually come open source but are like closed before?
Yeah.
Or some non-compete licenses?
Yeah.
And the hate associated with those licenses.
That's also one of the reasons why we haven't open sourced the server yet, because then I would have to decide which license to use, which is not a trivial thing these days. And the agent is just GPL3, so it's something that let's say is a sane default for now, but probably could be better. Yeah, but generally speaking, if you go to our website, so the niteo.co, our company website, main company website, you see there's a lot of open source stuff there. We released a lot of open source stuff. And if you're building software as a service products, you can actually open source a lot of what you do. Whatever problem you solve, you can usually generalize it and then open source it. And this is what we encourage everyone in the company to do. And there's no fear that software these days is so easy to create, and that was already true 5 years ago. Like today with AI, it's so easy to create software. Like the code actually doesn't really matter. It's not worth that much. What's worth is the processes that you have, the staff, the support, and the relationships with the customers. And the code doesn't really matter.
I have another question here.
When you had those bigger clients, how did you choose which client, how did you decide which client would be more likely to buy your product? Was there any specific way that you were approaching your clients, or did you just go to up to anybody that was maybe had a problem?
Do you mean for consulting?
Yeah.
Yeah, for consulting. Yeah, we just charged upfront. That was easy. Like I said, went to conferences, talked about stuff, and then said we're available for hire. People would come up, like, we need help. I'm like, okay, I'm going to send you a bill for, let's say, 20 to 40 hours as a pilot project, and I always wanted to have it paid upfront. And we always had too much work, so we didn't really have to struggle to get clients. It was hard work.
Are there any more questions? If not, thank you, Neyts.
I think we ran out already, right? I mean, we have a stand up there, and there are stickers on the table. Maybe there were stickers on the table. I'm not sure if they still are. Just run up and check. No, Pareto Security, just out here. I can check my bag if I have more. Oh, yeah, one more thing. So in July, I'm getting a Neyts Academy trainer to come to Slovenia to do a training for us internally in the company. And if he's already here, he might do another one for other people. So if someone is interested in Neyts training, do reach out so we potentially organize something. Find me. Come on. You know how to use the internet. OSINT. Send me a regular mail to my home address by OS. No, please don't. Yeah, with the wax stamp. Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, that's it for the questions? Okay, then we will finish here. Thank you, Neyts.